Fantastic. Welcome everybody to the Women Veterans Alliance. It's our Wednesday webinar here today. I am Melissa Washington. I am the CEO and founder of Women Veterans Alliance. I'm also a Navy veteran. And if you're not familiar with our organization, our primary focus is to connect women veterans with each other and resources. And we do that through many ways. And one of the ways we do that is through our Wednesday webinar series to get you connected with resources that are out there. Also, really quickly, just wanted to share, I'm in California. I was in DC yesterday, early morning for a breakfast with the Secretary of the VA. And I was very honored to be invited and to be included in this Women Veteran Leadership breakfast. And just, a lot of good things that are happening out there. And I just wanted you to know that just me and Women Veterans Alliance, we're out there also to be advocates and to be the voice for women veterans in our community. If you haven't connected with us, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Feel free to like us, connect with us, subscribe. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So this video, as well as other of our webinars, are on YouTube, so you can watch them at your leisure. If you are interested in becoming a Women Veterans Alliance member, you can do so going to womenveteransalliance.org/join. And there's a lot more extra benefits that you can receive as a paid member. We are, speaking of membership, are offering a membership promo. So if that's something you're interested in becoming a Women Veterans Alliance member, please email me and I will give you all the details. And that includes a discount off our membership and a Women Veterans Alliance pin. So please email me to get that membership. So if you haven't heard, we have launched a new magazine. We've launched it here in California, and just so happens tonight here in Sacramento area, we are having our launch party for the California magazine. In this current publication, it's a 64-page magazine that's available in print and digital. It's a yearly publication. We are in the process of working on these other states, Florida, Texas, and the DMV area. Even though the deadline has passed for articles, advertising, photos, we have extended that deadline. So if you are in one of these other states or have been stationed there, and if you're interested in having your photo on our photo collage cover, please visit womenveteransmagazine.com to do so. Also, we still have some room for articles as well as advertisers. And also too, if you are a published author and you are, again, in one of these states, from one of these states, or stationed in one of these other states, please let us know, because we'd love to feature you in the publication. And it's a beautiful magazine, and I want to show, because I'm just so proud of our magazine. Again, it's 64 pages of great information that can be used. So we are finishing up our March webinar series, and again today, and I'll share a little bit about Dr. Paris, but next week we are not having it on Wednesday. We are going to have it on Monday, March 28th, with Shonda Thompson, who's going to talk about Who Are You? The Pursuit of Authenticity Through Personal Branding is Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're doing a partnership with the EEOC, who's going to do a presentation on disabilities, veterans, and the EEOC. And you can visit our website and just click on webinars to sign up for the other two webinars for March. And also too, on our webinars page, we do have the April ones listed. So feel free to take a look and get signed up for those webinars as well. And you can also view the information on our Facebook page where we list the events. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Paris Love, former U.S. Army Sergeant, an accountability and productivity coach, lovingly known as the drill sergeant of productivity by her clients, and highly sought after speaker, and has a tremendous talent for bringing order to chaos, providing her clients with streamlined, efficient, manageable approaches to running their lives and businesses. After many years of working with a wide variety of clients in a host of settings, she's honed in on her specialty, helping overwhelmed professionals break through the barriers, keeping them disorganized, disoriented, and dissatisfied in their business, career, or life. A nationally recognized productivity and organizational expert, her voice has appeared in numerous websites and publications, as well as appearing on the hit TV series A&E Hoarders, as an organizational expert with IKEA Atlanta, and as a former columnist for Hope for Women magazine. Dr. Paris is a best-selling author with 12 published books. She received Amazon's top 100 bestseller in 2 categories and the TAZ Award for her novel, Growing Pains. She has been featured on Focus Atlanta, CW Atlanta, My Atlanta TV, and Online Organizing. Her high energy, loving but no nonsense approach will motivate and guide your experience of increased well-being and overall success. Dr. Paris is the host of Declutter Across America, a YouTube series in its 3rd season. Some of her past speaking clients include Women's Business Alliance, Pathway, Women's Business Center, NAPO IKEA, Keller Williams, SNHU, University of Phoenix, Women Lawyers of the Mobile Law Associate, and TSBDC. So without further ado, I would love to introduce to you my friend, Dr. Paris Love.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love that. I was reading the bio. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear. I was like, wait, that's me. So hello, everyone. I put in the chat, hopefully you have some pen and paper. So I'm going to give you some juicy nuggets, and we will do a little exercise at the end. So you will definitely need pen and paper for that. So Melissa, if you can start the presentation. So today we're going to talk about navigating clutter without losing your sanity. Next slide, please.
Give me 1 sec. I'm just going to put it
Okay.
up so it looks a little bit better.
Okay.
Okay, does that look better?
It's still in, it's not in presenter mode.
Well, I'm going to fix that right now.
I love technology. While we wait, anyone want to put in the chat where they're from? Anyone?
There you go. Is that better?
Yes. And I'll look at the chat as I go along. So next slide, please. So during our time together, we're going to talk about organization and your success, the 5-step process to eliminating clutter, strategies for maximizing your workday, daily techniques to implement, and we will talk about the 3 types of clutter. Next slide, please. And you all heard my bio, so that's just very briefly my bio again. Next slide. My areas of expertise are coaching, speaking, and organizing. I like to tell people my sweet spot is dealing with the physical clutter. I like to touch it. Next slide, please. Organization and your success. So my little disclaimer is I'm going to go all in on the presentation. And so no judgment. I'm not trying to gut punch anyone. And as Melissa said, I am lovingly known as a drill sergeant of productivity. I want you all to know that you are the creator of your life. You are the creator of your life. And we have to be very focused and intentional with what we do, especially when it comes to getting and staying organized and clutter-free. The third thing we're going to talk about is celebrate. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. It is so easy to focus on what's not working that we rarely celebrate what is working, our wins. A lot of times I tell my clients, what are some of your wins? And they're like, I got to think about it. So ladies, celebrate your wins. You're not bragging, you're not being better than anyone, but celebrate your wins and celebrate you. Next slide, please. Productivity is achieved when we are held accountable. So Melissa, this is where I'm going to talk about each one. Productivity is not time management. It is the ability to prioritize our time. Let me say that again. Productivity is not time management. It is our ability to prioritize our time. Next bullet point. You have to stay on the ringer long enough if you want to win. A lot of times I hear people say, well, I got organized and then I went back to my old habits. I got organized. I got disorganized. What's wrong with me? I just can't do it. You have to stay in the arena, which means consistency. You have to do this over and over again. I would love to tell you that you organize one time and that's it, but that's really not reality. Next point, please. Worry is a result of not taking action. Your world is your mirror. Let me say that again. Worry is the result of not taking action. So hopefully by the end of the presentation, you will be very actionable. Next point, please. People love choices, but people hate decisions. You ever wondered, you ever asked someone, where would you like to go to dinner? What do you want to eat tonight? We love choices, but we don't want to make decisions. Next point, please. What belief is blocking you from getting and staying organized and clutter-free? We choose what we will focus on. Next slide, please. So here's some strategies to maintain your work floor. And I use my name. So it's a Paris method. So P is for purge. Purge is purging things that no longer serve you, that you no longer need or want. And sometimes that might be people. Sometimes we have to purge people out of our lives, and we have to purge things out of our lives. And when an organizer tells you to purge, we're not necessarily saying just throw it all out. Release it to the universe. Give it to someone else who can utilize it and benefit from it. The A is for assign. I love having like items together. I don't know if anyone else has done this. You go in the closet and you're like, I know I brought, this dress, or I brought a top, but I can't find it. So put like items together. In the military, remember we had our uniforms together, our t-shirts together, everything was dress right dress. So it's the same way as we go through our daily lives and we organize our closet, or if you're in the kitchen, or if you're in your office, like items together. And you only want to retain what you truly love. Marie Kondo say, do you love it? Does it bring you joy? So you retain what you need and what you can utilize. A lot of times we're retaining things that no longer serve us. And we're going to talk about that as we go into the types of clutter. But we retain what we truly, truly need, want, and love. Invest. I love this one. Ladies, we have to invest in ourselves. We are always invested in other people that we put ourselves on the back burner. So invest in yourself, whether it's getting coaching from someone, getting the help that you need. It's okay to ask for help. Invest in other people's expertise to get you where you need to be. And simplify. I'm going to be very honest. It is so easy to get organized, but it's hard to stay organized. Let me repeat that. It's easy to get organized, but it's hard to stay organized. And that's because as we go through this process of better managing our time, to be more productive, to be more organized, those old habits come back in. You know those habits. I do this one day. I do this someday. I'm tired right now. I'm just going to put this off for later. So you really have to be really simplify that process so that those old habits don't creep back in. And when they do, recognize them and create a new healthy habit. Next slide, please. I love this one. This is like one of my favorite ones. Daily routines. Earn your whistle every single day. And actually coined that from, I don't know if you all are familiar with Soldiers to Sidelines. I've done several coaching certifications with them, and it's about earning that whistle every single day. Melissa, can you hit the first point? Be content with what you have. A lot of times my clients say, I need a bigger office. I need a bigger house. I need this. But really appreciate and be content with what you have so that you can get more. A lot of times we're complaining and we're worrying about what we have. And the universe goes, well, if you don't really like that, then I'm not going to give you any more. So really be content with what you have. Next slide, please. Believe you are worth it. When Melissa read my bio, you probably think, oh, well, she's a coach, she's a professional organizer, and we know she loves clutter, but it's not about the clutter. It's about something else. And I'm really good at getting to what that something else. One of the common themes that I see with my clients, especially my women clients, is believing that they are worth it. We do so much for everybody else. We're putting ourselves on the back burner. And at some point we go, oh, don't worry about me. I'm okay. And for those in the military, I was in a male dominated MOS. So, it's like, oh, you're a female? Yeah, we're just going to overlook you. Your opinion doesn't matter. You're like, hey, Sarge, I got a question. They're like, yeah. And they're going over to the male sergeants because they feel that they have more to give. But trust me, you are worth it. So I want you to believe in that as well. Next point, please. We're going to go back to the organizational piece. I want you to commit to organization, productivity, managing your time every single day, every week, and every month. Consistency is key. So you have to commit to doing this every single day, every week, every month. It's like if you want to lose weight, we probably all have done a diet and, for X amount of time, we're eating right, we're exercising. And as soon as we get to the weight that we want, we're like, okay. And those old habits come back and we start going back to how we used to be. And that commitment is lost. So commit to it every single day, every week, and every month. Next point, please. Get the family involved. We live what we learn. So a lot of times I hear people saying, well, it's Paris, it is not me. It's my spouse, it's my children. Like we're blaming everyone else, but you have to get the whole family involved. I don't know if anyone else grew up like this, where in my household, every Saturday was the day that we cleaned, like from sun up to sundown. And Sunday we went to church. So Monday through Friday, we didn't clean as much because we had Saturday. And then as an adult, I'm thinking, do I need to just spend my entire day cleaning on Saturday? Can I just clean as I go? So that's a habit that I created. With your children, get them to get in the process, picking up after themselves. When you start to do this, trust me, your family will go ahead and implement those habits and those routines as well. Next slide, please. Goals and intentions. So if you have a goal, I'm going to better manage my time. I'm going to get organized. I'm going to, stay on top of my paperwork. I'm going to follow up with clients, if you have a business, or even if you work for someone else, and if you're still active duty, you have goals and intentions. So review them and revisit them daily so that they stay top of mind. Next point, please. Look at what's working and focus on the positive. A lot of times, as I said it before, we worry and we think about what's not working, but we have to look at what's working. When I ask my clients, like, what's a win today? What's a celebration? And they're like, because they're not used to celebrating themselves. And I tell them, if getting up this morning was a celebration, we're going to celebrate that because that's something positive. So the small wins will lead to big ones, but focus on the positively in the situation. Next point, please. Gratitude. I'm going to have to do my little dance on that one. Be grateful for the small things, because the small things lead up to big wins. So I'm going to give you two examples. Say you're working in the office and you're like, Paris, I like to pile my papers up. I'm like, my desk is like disorganized. And you look at the desk and it's overwhelming. But if you just take one section at a time and you work on that, you're like, whoo, this is pretty good. And it's appreciating, for the last 10 minutes, I did this, I cleared it out, and I can go on to the next thing. And you get that motivation to do that. So really, when as you go and you manage your time and you want to get organized, have gratitude for the small things, because they're going to lead up to big things and they're going to give you that push to go further. Next slide, please, or next point. So here's my little secret. This is where your pen and paper comes in if you haven't been taking notes already. Is practice the 1 in, 1 out rule. And I have to explain this. The 1 in, 1 out rule is when something comes into your environment, regardless of what it is, if it's clothes, if it's like you want to get a new binder, anything that you have, if something comes in, something has to go out. Something comes in, something has to go out. And I have to explain that because clients go, well, I bought 15 shirts, but I only let one go. No, if you buy 15 shirts, 15 have to leave. So if you purchase something, really look at that and go, do I really need this or do I want this? What am I willing to let go of in order to have this? And here, remember I said earlier, it's easy to get organized, but hard to stay organized. But getting organized, we go and we purge. Like, okay, I'm gonna let this go. And we look and go, oh, I have a lot of space in my closet. Oh, what can I do in that little corner right there? And then we start bringing things in. But unless we're letting something go, we're gonna get right back to where we were. And we look at it and go, how did this happen? I don't believe, how did all this stuff happen? If you ever had to move, and a lot of times in the military, we moved a lot. You ever notice that when you move, you accumulate more stuff? Like, how did I get all this stuff? Like, I didn't even know I had all of this. So if you practice the one in, one out rule, you're constantly purging and you're assigning and you're retaining what you love. I will open it up for questions later because I saw something in the chat earlier, but I will go back to that. Melissa, next point, please. There's our worry again. Start worrying about and stressing about the past. So in the past, maybe you weren't as organized. Maybe you didn't manage your time as well, but going forward, you will. A lot of times I see with my clients, as we start to work this process and things start to change, it's, I know, Paris, but 10 years ago, this happened and this happened and I can't. Like, we're not going to focus on the past. We're going to focus on now and future. So I hope that makes sense for everyone. Next point, please. Appreciation. Take care of what you have. So another thing that my clients say, if I just had a bigger closet. Remember in basic training, we had that small little wall locker and we had to put everything in there really neat. And we had the 2-finger check. I still do that, by the way, put 2-finger checks between my hangers. And, you look at the drawers and you have to roll your t-shirts and roll your socks and you look and you go, okay, this is nice and pretty. Then you come back into civilian world and you go, okay, wait a minute. Now what do I do? Because the closet is almost the size of that wall locker, but you have clothes for a walk-in closet. So it's really appreciating, you know what? At least I have a closet, because not so long ago, they didn't have closets. They had like a little peg on the wall, and of course they didn't have as many things as we have now. So they just had, a little peg that they hung up, but we have these nice closets. So whether your closet is small or big, appreciate that. That way, when you appreciate what you have, you get more later. Next point, please. And 1 through 10, if you do those, you rinse and repeat. Like I said it before, these are habits and routines that you have to continually do every day, every week, every month. So rinse and repeat. You'll probably hear me say that a lot. Next slide, please. So now we're going to get to the good part. Clutter hot spots. There is mental, emotional, and physical clutter. The physical clutter, that's the stuff. Like, that's the paper, that's the clothes, that's the stuff. And it's a manifestation of the inner clutter. That inner clutter is that mental clutter, the thoughts in our head. You know those thoughts. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not, it's the stuff that plays over in our head over and over again. And the emotional clutter is the attachment to things, such as maybe you inherited your parents or your grandparents' items, and you don't want, you may not want them and you may not need them, but because your mother, grandmother, brother, sister, whoever it was gave it to you, you kind of want to hold on to it because that's that emotional clutter. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to say this and then we're going to go and cover each one. Success won't come from being on the sidelines. You have to stop looking from the sidelines and get in the game. And what I mean by that, a lot of times when people find out what I do, they go, I really need help, but you probably don't help me because I'm a hoarder. Or, you know, my uncle, my cousin, my mom, someone, they're a hoarder. So from this day forward, please do not say that again, because hoarding is a mental disorder. So we're not going to say that anymore and look outside and say, oh, well, they're a hoarder, I'm a hoarder. No, you're not. Stop saying that. Thank you. Next slide, please. So the mental clutters I was talking about before will move in and take permanent residence in our minds. And you see the sign, the man's like, stop. Has anyone ever had someone live rent-free in their brain? Let me explain what that looks like. Remember drill sergeant back in basic? They're like yelling. And I hope that everyone is probably around my age where they still yelled. I don't know if they yell at you now, but they're just like yelling, get off the bus. You're not anything. What's wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. And they did it so much that at some point you're like, is this true? Like, am I like, what they're saying, is this actually true? And we play it over in our heads again. And we go, when we mess up, we go, well, maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I didn't do this, or I should have did this. It's those negative thinking or stinking thinking that a lot of people like to say that we continue to play over and over in our head. And that goes back to believing that you are worth it. And the story that we're telling ourselves 100% of the time probably is not true. Next slide, please. So emotional clutter, I say let it go. So a lot of times when we inherit things from mother, father, grandparent, brother, sister, cousin, we have that emotional attachment to it and want to keep it. A lot of times, and a lot of us have probably moved several times in the military, and someone probably said, hey, you should take this. Oh, you're moving, let me give you this. And we already have those items. But because we feel this attachment to that person, we keep the item. If you're not going to use the item or need the item, it's okay to release it to the universe and give it to someone who can use it. Now, my clients like to challenge me on this one and say, well, Paris, what if they come over my house and they ask, where's that dish I gave you? Where's this? And I'm thinking, well, how many times have that person have come over to your home and asked you where were their items? They probably haven't asked. And if they do ask you where it is, you say, you know, oh my goodness, I so love that. That was a really good dish, article of clothing, but I released it and gave it to somebody who could use it. Doesn't that sound nice? And be like, I gave it to somebody else who can reuse it. Now they're going to complain about that? Probably not. They're like, oh, okay. And I'm the type of person, if you give me something, I'm like, that's really nice, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to use that. I don't need that. You can take it back. And people appreciate that, because I'm like, you know, that's just going to cause clutter. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you keep that item. And I also want to bring up, if you define yourself by what has happened to you, you would continue to repeat it. And that goes along with the mental and emotional clutter. It's when we were children, if something was taken from us, whether it's a blanket, a toy, you know, something happened, we subconsciously forget about that. We become adults and we start to hold on to things, and we have that emotional attachment to things and people because we're trying to relive what we lost as a child. So I hope that makes a lot of sense to everybody. Next slide, please. And the physical clutter, again, this is the paper, the stuff, the clothes, the items. And that's why I like to put like items together. No judgment here. Say, for instance, you're organizing the kitchen and you say, you know, I'm going to put all of my silverware together. I'm going to put all of my condiments together. When you start to do that, you go, well, I didn't know I had 15 cans of ketchup. Because maybe it's me, but you buy something and you're like, I know I bought that. And I wonder what happened to it. So you go buy it again and you go, oh, I already had the item. True story. When I was younger, I loved shoes. Yes, organizers, we have our little things that we do too. Love shoes. And this was back in the 80s. I'm dating myself. But I don't know if anybody remembers, a lot of things were very colorful back then. Like we wore the yellow shoes, the pink shoes, the lime green shoes. And I had some shoes, they were pink, green, they had like white, there was like all these colors and they're like different patterns. And I had the shoes and I went shopping and I saw some shoes, they had the same colors. And I looked at the shoes and I'm like, these shoes look so familiar, but I couldn't remember. This is long before I was an organizer. I was like, I can't, these shoes look familiar, but I really like these shoes. So I purchased the shoes. I get home and I go, no wonder I like the shoes. I bought the same shoe twice. I'm just gonna let y'all know that's what I did. You can laugh if you want, because I'm laughing just telling the story. I bought the same shoe. And so, looking back, I'm thinking, where was my original shoe? Was it organized? Did I have it where I need to be? Did I even wear the shoe? And that was key. The reason why I bought the same shoe, because I didn't even wear the previous shoe. So that's my little story. Hope y'all enjoyed that story. Next slide, please. So here's some clutter hotspots. This is where you would need your pen and paper because we are going to do a little exercise. So number one, what are the clutter hotspots that bother you? Now this could be in the kitchen, your office, it could be in your home, it could be in your workspace. What are some of the clutter hotspots that bother you? And what is clutter saying about you? What negative thoughts are you envisioning? One example of that is people say, Paris, I should know how to do this. I must not be smart enough. I didn't get that gene that you get. I don't think there's a special gene that what I have. I was just born this way to just organize. And then later on, I was told that I had obsessive compulsive disorder because I was like too neat. So I don't really think that anything is wrong with me. I think everybody else should be, like me. But what are the negative thoughts that you're saying? A lot of times people go, well, I'm just messy, or what's that word I said earlier? I'm a hoarder. And you can have the other side. I'm just a neat freak. I think something's wrong with me. So write down, what is it saying? What is your clutter saying about you? And what negative thoughts do you envision? Number three, what messages is your clutter whispering to you? And I get close to the TV, to the monitor, because I wanted, we family here. What messages is your clutter whispering to you? Are they saying, is it the little child who wants your attention? How is clutter affecting your life, your work, your relationships? Number four, how does clutter affect your relationships? They could be work relationship, personal relationships, because if you have clutter in one area, it's going to show up in all other areas. And how is clutter showing up in your life, not in someone else's, because a lot of times we blame, the spouse and the kids, but how is it showing up in your life? And I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to work on this exercise. And as you all work on that, I'm going to go back to the chat and get some questions for you. All right, go. I'm going to go back. Ooh, homeless in Seattle. I love Seattle. Indiana. I'm going to Indiana this week. Woohoo. Michigan, Wisconsin. Oh, I love it. Ohio, Nevada, California, Texas. Oh yeah, having a family of one. I love it. Look, Peggy, as a family of one, how organized are you? L. Peterson says, my mom expects me to take all of her junk. Yeah, if your mom or your grandparents grew up during the recession and they kept everything, your mom is saying, hey, I know you need this. You can use this. And to you it's junk, but to her it's something very precious. And so you can tell your mom, oh, mom, I so appreciate this, but I can't use it. I don't need it. can I give it to someone else? Or you can tell her, Mom, can you just take that down to, the Goodwill or the Waterfront Mission or the church? Give it to somebody else who could utilize that. Ooh, Guam. Yeah, good morning. Ooh, good morning. Fear of scarcity. Thank you for saying that. I'm always of the belief that there's no scarcity, there's an abundance of everything. And with the pandemic, we have noticed, especially in the last year, the supply chains. And I was telling someone last week, like, you see something, you're like, oh, I don't really need this now. I know where it is, I can come back to it. Now I'm telling people, if you see it, get it, because it may not be there later. Now, there is a little disclaimer to that. When you see something that you can utilize in the very near future, it's something that you are actually going to use in the very near future, absolutely, you can get it. If you see something and you think, I think my kids could use this, like they're a size 8 and this is a size 12, and I know that, it's probably won't be on sale later. Do not do that. Do not do that. Let it stay right there. Let it stay right there. And do not go, well, someone's birthday is coming up. It's March. Their birthday's in October. I should get these items now. Leave that right there as well. Leave that right there, because by the time their birthday comes, you might want to get them something else. So leave that right there. And if you see items that says buy 10 for, or, buy one, get one, you don't actually have to get the other item. You still get the discount if you buy the one. So you have to look at, do I really need the 10 items? Or maybe I just need one, or I need 2. So you don't have to get all of the items. Hope that makes sense. Some days I'm better. Peggy says, some days I'm better organized, less cluttered than others. Honey, aren't we all? Aren't we all? So you can, look, my name is Paris. Some days we are better organized than others. And some days you're just like, oh, I don't even know what happened here. That's okay. As long as you don't sit in the latter. It's like, you know what? Today I'm just really not feeling, really good to put things where they belong, put things in their place. But you know what? I'm going to do it tomorrow, and really do that tomorrow, rather than the next day go, yeah, I'm really not feeling too well today. I'm going to put this off to later. Because the next day you're going to go, yeah, I'm going to get this later, because something's always going to come up. So recognize, today my house looks like a magazine. I have a couple of things out of place. I'm a little tired right now, but you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to get back on that organization. So you really have to be consistent with that, but try not to go back in the old habits of, yeah, I'm tired, I get that later, I do that one day, because then it becomes a habit. And then you look up 3 months, 6 months later, and you're like, well, how did I get here? Like, I don't know what happened. Go back to when, and I was in the Army. I always tease when I talk to individuals in the Air Force, like, Paris, we didn't do that in the Air Force. So in the Army, we had, like, everything was dress right dress. Like, everything was in its place, everything had a place, and everything was just very structured. So as we go through our lives, and once we come out of the military, we start to get into the civilian way of living. And then some of the habits from civilians start to creep in there. We lose that discipline and motivation to do things. So we just have to get back, like, remember back, like, if I was in basic, what would I do? And you start to get those habits again. Some of the habits we probably should leave there, but some of those good habits we can continue to take. Like, I still roll my socks individually and put them in the drawers so they look like little soldiers. I still roll my underwear. I encourage my clients to roll their underwear too. They think that I'm really weird when I say that. But I'm like, don't you want to open your underwear drawer and everything's nice and pretty and you can see it? And some of them are like, yeah. Some of them are like, no, Paris. As long as they're in the drawer, I'm good. So do what works for you. It's no right or wrong. But I want you to start to create habits that are sustainable so that when you need something, you can go directly to it. All right, I'm gonna stop talking for a few minutes because you all have 4 minutes. 4 minutes. I can play music while you all work. If I could remember my cadence. Let me see. I remember King's, what is it? Boots have money. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's taking me back. How much do you donate versus toss out? I try to donate as much as I can. So when you donate things, think about, because a lot of times what looks nice to us or what we feel is valuable might not be valuable to someone else. So when I'm working with clients and we're going to donate something, I want to make sure it's in good condition. And unfortunately, you can't, like pillows, you can't donate. Socks, you really can't donate. And I used to say underwear, but I've seen, as long as underwear is not worn, I've seen at Goodwill, people have underwear there. So it's kind of interesting. But typically I would say like underwear, socks, pillows that you don't really donate. But other items, if you have a shirt, blouse, shoes, if they're in really good condition or slightly used, I would donate that. If it's something where you have a pair of shoes and the heels are completely worn down, then I would toss those. Like clothing, if they have holes in them, I would donate that or use it as a cleaning rack around the house. And then furniture, a lot of times you can donate it either to Habitat Humanity, some, it depends. A lot of them really want new stuff. Some of them will take gently used, but it's some furniture that may have a little scratch or a nick in it. You can definitely donate that or put it on Facebook Marketplace, because there are individuals who will repurpose the items. So I hope that answers your question, Peggy. And Melanie says, hard to keep the steam going when trying to declutter. I get overwhelmed and stop, especially yes, when we get overwhelmed, we do nothing. So as you're organizing, Melanie, you look at the big picture and that can be very overwhelming. So when you're looking at your heirlooms, do like, if you have multiple types of heirlooms, just do one type and then move on to the next one. Because if you're doing them all at once, that can be extremely overwhelming. So just do a little at a time. You don't have to do everything all at once. Like, you know what? Today for a couple hours, I'm gonna work on this. And then tomorrow I'm gonna work on this. A lot of times people, when they want to get organized, they're like, okay, family, we're gonna do the whole house. That could be very stressful and overwhelming. But if you say, you know what, today we're just going to work on the kitchen. Today we're just going to work on the closet. Today we're just going to work on the bathrooms. That is so much easier than trying to do everything at one time. Let's see. Buy nothing groups, local groups. Yep, neighborhood groups on Facebook. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes, Melanie, you put something outside on the curve, or you call up someone, it's gone. It used to be, this was way before the pandemic, I had a client that had one of those big TVs, the one with the big box TV, and it still worked, but her friends were like, we're getting you a flat screen. And I said, honey, put that on the curve because somebody will come by. So we rolled it out to the curve. It was like a big TV. We rolled it out to the curve, came back in the house, closed the door, started walking to do something else, and the doorbell rung. And it was like, well, who could be at the doorbell? That was Alzheimer's. And they were driving down the street and they saw the TV, and the lady came, she said, are you giving that away? We're like, yes, if you want it, you can take it. And she said, I'm going to leave my son right here because I got to go and get a bigger car, but I'm going to come back and get it. And that happens a lot of time. If you put it on the curve, trust me, one of your neighbors, they looking, they'll come get it. Peggy says, when her son was little, I showed him that you started the door and go in one direction, left or right. Yes. And go 1 foot at a time from wall to center. In the center, there was a bag to keep, a bag for trash, and a bag to share. Thank you, Peggy. Yes, 3 options: keep, trash, share, or donate. And that's actually, when you work with me, I give you 2 options. Either you're going to keep it or let it go. Because if you have too many options, then you start to get overwhelmed as well. Because a lot of times people are like, well, my cousin Joe could use this. I think I'm gonna donate this. Okay, and you have like all these options, and then you get confused. Like, what was that for? What option was that? So 2 to 3, max 3 options. Either you keep it, toss it, donate it. So I hope that was helpful. The timer went off. So would anyone like to share? You can raise your hand. I think I can see, yeah, if you raise your hand. If you go down to reactions and raise your hand, if anyone wants to share about their clutter hot spots. Everyone's like, no, I don't want to share. No one want to share? No one want to share? No? Okay. Kelly says, funny, our belongings disappear from my yard, patio, and carport, even if they are not for, girl, I know. That's true too. Yeah. If you leave your garage door open, you come back, somebody will clear out. You got to be very mindful of what you put outside nowadays. But as you talk about belongings, that's actually what I want to talk about as well. So next slide, Melissa. Belonging. Everything has a place. Everything wants to belong, just like we want to belong. But there are hidden messages in our clutter. So the piles of paper or the disorganization in the file cabinet. So let's talk about the file cabinet, for example. You ever have a file cabinet, you put your files in there, and at some point they get really stuffed and you're like stuffing things in there. It's like some people, and I've heard this from clients, to them, it's like filing their intelligence away. And if they declutter, they feel that they're giving their smarts away. I have clients who would keep cards. We don't really mail a lot of cards these days, but before we would mail birthday cards, thank you cards, sympathy cards, and clients will hold on to them. And I would say, do you want to let them go? Do you want to keep them? Are you going to display them, at certain times of the year? And they're like, I just want to hold on to it because I feel if I throw it away, I'm throwing that person away. So, and that's where, remember we talked about the emotional clutter. That's where that emotional side comes in because they feel like they're throwing something away. And clutter and self-love go hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. A lot of times we think of clutter as the stuff, the thoughts in our heads, but it's really about self-love. And it's loving yourself where you are. That's why I strongly recommended earlier, do not say, oh, I'm a hoarder, or, it's their stuff, it's not mine. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, whatever. Like, we have to learn not to say that. We have to deprogram ourselves to speak love into ourselves, because when we don't do that, we feel that with other things. It's the stuff that we have that's trying to replace something else. So I hope that makes a lot of sense for you. When we ignore the messages, it just gets louder to get your attention. It gets louder to get your attention. So when you have, I always say, when you have clutter, it'll call to his friends, come visit me, come hang out with me. A lot of times people say, well, it was just this one little area that was cluttered. And then all of a sudden that little area get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then one day you wake up and go, how did this happen? Remember I talked about when you move, like you never know how much stuff you have until you move, because things are hidden away under the bed. They're hidden, in a closet. Like we hide our clutter. And then when we have to move, everything's exposed. When you have a thought and you go, but that's the things that's blocking you. For example, is that people say, well, Paris, a cluttered mind means that you're smart. I have organized chaos. Honey, clutter is clutter, or they say, well, I can find, what I need. And how long does it take you to find it? And if somebody else needed to find it, how long would they be able to find it? My rule of thumb is, if someone said, hey girl, I'm right here at the corner. I was in your neighborhood. I'm going to come over. Can I come over? And you go, oh my God, somebody's coming over. Back in the day, what did you do? You had it under the bed, throw it in the closet. If it takes you more than 15 seconds to put it where it belongs, then you have a clutter problem. That's why it's so important to put like items together. If somebody was to call you and you're working at your desk, you go, okay, let me put, this goes here, let me file this away. Like you should be able to get that and put that away very quickly. If someone asks you for something, you should be able to get it very quickly. If not, and again, no judgment, that means that we have to revisit how we are organizing and maintaining what we have. Because if we can't easily get our hands on it, then that's an issue, because it might be an emergency where you have to get your hands on it, right? Next slide, please. And I'm going to open it up for questions. There was some questions in the chat, I think. Let's see. The clutters in your back counter that collects all. My clutters in my back kitchen counter that collect, some parts of our kitchen can become like a catch-all area. So Kelly, when you look at what's in the back counter, look to see, is there something that I can put in a cabinet? Is there something where it's above cabinet or a lower cabinet? Sometimes we have a pantry area that has a, the top shelf that is like, oh, I don't really need this right now, but I can put it up there. Look to see if you can put it in another area. Now, I do realize that some of our appliances are really large, and sometimes we have to keep them on the counter. But if it's not something that you use every day, like a blender, what do they call? I'm looking at mine now. The Instapot, things like a toaster, crock pot, something that you use daily or on a regular basis can stay on the counter, but something that you use seasonal, I would find a place to put that. So you can put it at a top cabinet. There's always that cabinet above the refrigerator that, I'm like, who built that? So that's where the seasonal things go. And your pantry, the top shelf, you don't need it as often, but seasonally or, once a blue moon, you may be able to get that out. I hope that answers your question. Let's see, I'm trying to go through. Christina says, as an MST survivor and DV survivor, I feel my physical clutter is my way of feeling safe because it blocks people from getting to me. Yeah, girl, yes. I actually had an example about body clutter, because a lot of times we think of, when we talk about clutter, we think about the physical stuff, but there is body clutter and other types of clutter that we have to keep us safe. And if we have this, then everybody else will leave me alone. I will be invisible. Nobody will see me. And so we have this other stuff like that. And I'm so sorry that you were the DV, but I'm glad that you are a survivor, and know that you are worthy. You are good enough. And if you have to say that every day, you just say, I am worthy. I am good enough, because you are, and believe that you are. And also believe when anything happens to us, it's other people's insecurities. Ladies, please understand that when things happen to us, it's our confidence that's bumping against somebody's insecurities. And so it takes us a while to get back and own that power, but know that, you are good enough. I hope that helps. Peterson says, paperwork and mail is my bigger clutter issue. Is there a good way to organize that? I'm always afraid that I'm going to throw away something that I will need eventually. Yes. So for paper, when mail comes in, I go straight to my trash can. And I'm like, most of it's like, it's junk mail. It's junk mail. And then when you open up the mail that you need to take action on it, you open it up and you go, okay, is this something that I can do right now? Or is this something that I need later? So for instance, if it's a bill and you go, okay, I pay my bills the 1st and the 15th, I don't need this now. A lot of times bills are electronically. If you are doing an electronic bill, you don't need the paper version, because they'll send you an email to say, hey, you have a reminder that your bill. So if you are paying your bills digitally, you don't need the paper version. So a lot of the stuff that we have that's paper version, we can get it again. So that, and I understand what you're saying, where if I throw this away, I'm going to need it. But with our technology now, you can always go back and get it. A lot of our companies, our banks, they have all of that data from years ago. It's on microfiche. That's what it's called. It's called microfiche. So if you have to go back to like 1920, you probably can't go back to 1920, but like 1990, you just tell them, I need this from this date, and it's going to be on their microfiche. So they have it for you. So if they have it, we don't need to keep that paper version of it. And then paperwork, we're supposed to be a paperless society, but we generate more paper. My name is Paris. I used to print out like all this stuff. I'm like, oh, but I need the paper version. I want to hold it. I want to touch it. And I realized I don't really have to keep all of that paper. So what I do now, I have folders on my computer, and I put like, this is only things that like tax returns, presentations, business related things that I need. I will put in the folder on my computer. Things that I get, and it's an article or something that I want to refer to later, I put in the folder and I put December in the year. So it'd be December 2022. And I dump it all in that little folder. And when December comes, I open the folder and I scroll through and I go, well, why did I keep that? Delete. Why did I keep that? I only have like a handful of things that I really want to read or really need to look at. I'll look at it and then I go, do I really need to keep this for later reference, for my records, or can I get this again? If it's something that I can get again, I trash it. It goes in the trash bin on the computer, and then I delete that, because we have traded paper clutter for digital clutter. So it's like going through all that digital paperwork. I hope that helps. Peggy, house and auto, we must keep forever. Sally, even absolutely. There are, and I'm talking the paperwork that it's, the little advertisements, the little, someone sent us an invitation or something. But yes, home, auto, taxes. And again, I'm not a tax person, so you have to figure out if you're going to keep it 7 or 10 years. My retention is 7 years. So anything that's 7 years, I keep that. And things that like property, if I sold it in the past, I have a black container that I keep all of that in, because if something happens and I want to go, I can like grab it and go. But there are certain documents that you have to keep forever, investment, house, things like that. And there are some documentation that you can keep for 7 years. So talk that over with your tax person, with your family, with your company, how long you need to keep that. And you all know that you have to keep all of your military information like forever, DD 219. When I was in the military, we got paid from skins, which I don't know if you all remember that. They used to give us, it was called skins. So I have all of that in a nice little folder, which is also in the little bag. So if something happens, I just grab my bag. It's all of my military stuff in there. So I hope that helps everyone. Any other questions? And I hope I wasn't talking too fast. I tend to like, Ginger says, I held on to things because they don't leave you as people do. Girl, I know, right? When we talked about that purging, like sometimes you need to purge some people and some things. Yeah. And as you go through and think about what, again, there's no right or wrong. Like I will say, well, I don't really need this piece of paper. I'm just going to toss it. Somebody else will go, oh my God, you should keep that. So be really mindful of what you're keeping. Just don't keep it to keep it, have a purpose for keeping. If you're just keeping it for sentimental and emotional reasons, but then that emotional side of it is like, well, I'm just keeping this piece of paper because it was like a bubble gum. I'm just throwing this out. It's a bubble gum wrapper that I had when I was 10. Do you really need to keep that? Probably not. So really be mindful of the things that you're keeping, because a lot of times we say, okay, I need to keep this. I need to hold on to this, but we're really not releasing anything. We're like holding on to everything. So just be real mindful of what you are keeping. And that's my slide for staying in touch with me. And thank you, Lisa. I'm glad it was helpful. And if anyone has any questions, it's my email, my website, my calendar link is on there. If you want to talk further, I do a 15-minute complimentary session. Yes, I do have, oh, girl, I got 12 books. I have books on organizing, books on time management. You can find it. Melissa has some of my books in the bookstore that do very well. And then I have books on my website as well.
All right, Dr. Paris. Well, that hour went really quickly. That's a good thing. That's a lot of good information. And thanks for sharing your contact information. And yes, we have 2 of your books on the Women Veterans Alliance in our store if anyone's interested as well. And don't forget that this has been recorded and we will get it up to on YouTube. So if there's something that you missed, you could check that out. But feel free to set up some time with Dr. Paris. That's very generous of you to have some complimentary time to speak with anyone who's interested.
Yep, choose the 15-minute one, because that's my whole calendar, but choose the 15-minute one. That's the complimentary one.
Good stuff. All right, well, thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.